Mosques vandalized, graves desecrated, and worshippers arrested. Ahmadis continue to face relentless persecution. As hostility intensifies, the Ahmadiyya Muslim community's International Human Rights Desk officially launched its annual report at Royal Holloway University.
But even the right to be remembered has been taken away from us in Pakistan.
Law and criminology students at the university gained insight into the persecution of Ahmadis in Pakistan through an opening address by alumnus Usman Ahmed.
And do you know what they call Professor Abdus Salam in Pakistan? They don't call him a hero. They don't call him a figure of national esteem or any of these things. Do you know what they call him? They call him a heretic. So every year we publish an annual persecution report which documents the persecution faced by Ahmadis in Pakistan and elsewhere for the previous year. And this year we just had our report published and we were doing a couple of unveiling events. And today we decided to unveil the reports here at Royal Holloway, University of London, which is also my old university.
The event featured a screening of the documentary Faith in Chains, shedding light on the ongoing challenges faced by Ahmadi Muslims. Students also heard from human rights advocate Cecil Chaudhry, who shared his expertise and personal experiences on the issue.
In class 6, I studied about my father in the textbook. So it was a great, proud moment to read about my father's accolades of the wars of 1965. But my own class fellow over there said, "How can this be Cecil's father? These people only clean the gutters." That was the remark that he made at that time. So you can well imagine in 1986, if that was the situation, what is the situation minority students continue to face. But I can clearly say, being a Pakistani myself, having lived there 48 years of my life, Ahmadis are the most blatantly persecuted community in Pakistan right now.
The launch concluded with a thought-provoking panel discussion on the role of international law in combating injustice, the legal efforts undertaken by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and the necessary mechanisms to prevent regional human rights violations.
I was wondering that if there is any individual complaint procedure has been followed to report it to the treaty bodies.
So all of this stuff is regularly reported. For example, in Ramzan, the current month of fasting, we've had multiple incidents of arrests of Ahmadis for observing the Friday prayer. And in the first incident, you had an 11-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy arrested as well. And so we've been updating the EU, UN, and I know Cecil's organization does the same. So there are, the reporting is incredibly regular.
I think it's really amazing. I think it's very important to realize about how crucial these human rights events are, especially with the crises that go on in the world. I do think that the big issue is the fact that there are so many stories that we've heard today that go underwritten and unheard of as well. So I do think that it's important to spread the awareness.
It's definitely allowed myself to have different perspectives on how the law could be applied in such areas to actually protect these ethnic and minority groups within Pakistan. As a British Pakistani myself, I've suffered through different modes of discrimination outside of Pakistan. So for me to consider another person within Pakistan, my home country, suffering through a similar degree of discrimination, in terms of that we can do a much better role in actually protecting people.
I really enjoyed it. I feel like it was an opportunity to learn more in depth in a specialised area about religious persecution and discrimination, where typically throughout my modules in secondary school and in university, it's been a lot more widespread and very brief instances, and a lot of it has been very Western based, so about religious persecution in Western areas rather than more in depth in other areas outside the West.
So I think the event went really well. We had a really good turnout of students. This is just towards the end of term, and often student numbers really dwindle, and it really blossomed today. I thought there were lots of students. They looked really interested and animated, and they asked interesting questions, and they seemed to be very engaged with the topic.
Like this event is so important to give that awareness to the new generation, the future generation, about what is happening in the world and what sort of atrocities are being faced.
Really, and also one of the things we want to do in compliance with Hizul's instructions is not just to talk about persecution, but to talk about affirm Ahmadi identity, to talk about instances of courage and, the success stories that emerge from all of this. And I think we were able to cover that as well in some way today.
Nusharan Rashid, MTA News.